It's Dumb Guy Live.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're bloody here.
It's Dumb Guy. It's Tuesday. We're back.
It's Dumb
What a
Guy
time to be alive.
Tuesday. What a time to be alive. I made sure I uploaded the logo haphazardly. Why the fuck is there a fan going off in my apartment? I turned it off. Anyway, I'll sort that out in just a second. We love the new logo. It's great. It makes me very happy. I just uploaded it to background, and I realized that I can also upload it to overlay, and I kind of want to just do that right now. I sure hope it doesn't mess with anything if I do this.
We'll find
But
out.
yeah, Jamie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's been another very busy week with all these tournaments going on. A lot of wrestling, but I'm doing good. I'm good to be back. Obviously, we've not got Murph today. Do you know why we've not got Murph? He's always up to something. That little rap.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's on the campaign trail with Mr. DeSantis. Ironically, a loyal viewer of Dumb Guy Live, and of Worldwide, of course, too, and the flagship show on Thursday. But yep, unfortunately, Murph is hot on the campaign trail. He was in Iowa a few days ago with the DeSantis campaign, and yeah, you know what? He's doing what he's got to do. He's moving up in the world of Republican politics. So we're very proud of him for that. All right, let's see this. Oh, look at that. Look at that now.
Do the rest of the show like this.
Yeah, just do it like here. I can just hey everyone, what's going on? It's goofy. I like what we do. This is great. This is great. Do we like it with this or without this? We're just gonna keep it clean today. We're gonna do this. All right. Yeah. It's nice and cropped. We're very professional. We're the only Pro podcast. So
that is true.
Okay. Jamie, I say it every week. It is a busy time in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start with STARDOM. All right. Let's start with the 5-star GP. I just watched the two shows from this past weekend. I was able to catch up on them this afternoon, so I'm all caught up with the 5 tournament matches that we got this weekend. And yeah, let's just go in order here. Obviously, I think some of the Hanan matches we don't need to go super in depth on. They're just not a ton going on there, but I thought one of the 5 matches was excellent, and I'm excited to talk about it here. But Jamie, you want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, sure. So on Saturday, we had, as you mentioned, Hanan against Julia, with Julia picking up a pretty unsurprising win. I thought this show, at the venue they were in, they didn't sell too many tickets, and it was the crowd were pretty quiet. And I thought that kind of, it didn't help a lot of the wrestlers, Hanan in particular, who kind of like feeds off that babyface stuff. But other than that, I thought it was pretty solid. Julia picking up the win. We had Mariah May versus Soriano, which is a bit of a preview of a upcoming Goddess tag match with Rose Gold and Anno and Natsboy. Soriano picking up the win there. It got off to quite a hot start.
Yeah, this was so I didn't think this match was that good overall, but Mariah May just power bombs Anno on the floor in like the first 30 seconds, which was crazy.
I thought we were on for like a bit of a classic here, just from like the first 30 seconds. It's like, they're going for it.
I'm still not entirely sold on Mariah May. I think she has great character work and she's super charismatic, of course. She's, in fact, a lot of times STARDOM and TJPW, when they bring in foreigners, they're kind of generic. They're just kind of like workers, and they're not like great characters. That's why, for example, Willow was able to stand out really well when she did TJPW stuff. Why Max the Impaler has been able to in TJPW as well, and Mariah May has done that too. But between the ropes, still not. I mean, she's super inexperienced too, so that'll come. But this was kind of sloppy towards the end. Anno was trying to do the big bridging pin that she does. I think that was probably the intended finish, but she just couldn't get over. Like, she just couldn't get over, and Mariah May's pretty tall too, so that probably didn't help things. But she eventually tapped her out with the cross arm breaker.
Yeah, and I think being in the 5-star will go a long way into, like, putting the Mariah May improving in ring and stuff. She's going to be in there with the absolute best of the best, so she'll get a real chance to show what she can do. And then the main event of that show, we had the current Wonder of Stardom champion, Mirai, taking on the former Wonder of Stardom champion, Mina Shirakawa. In the, I thought this was quite easily the best match on this, out of these 5-star matches on this show. Mina picking up the win. Mirai not having the best of starts. Champion, but I think it could set up maybe possibly another white belt match down the line. I think Mina will definitely go back for that belt at some point. But but pretty solid stuff.
Yeah, I thought this was great. I thought this match was excellent. And I didn't really expect to. I've been in, Mirai's 2 for 2, and she had a great white belt title match as well. So she's finally, in my opinion, really putting it together and living up to the push that she's gotten. That's kind of been a thing, right? As soon as these Stardom wrestlers that get pushed a lot, as soon as they win their title, it seems they really just kind of put it together, and all their matches suddenly feel like a bigger deal, and they get more main event spots and everything like that. And of course, their opponents are more motivated because they're in there with a champion and all that. So, yeah, I thought this was really good. Mina controlled the match early. Mirai made a comeback, and then there was some hard slaps from Mina, sent the match into the next level. And after that, it was just some stiff stuff, some big time moves, lariats and the suplexes from Mina as well. I was just really impressed by this overall.
Yeah, and they pushed the time limit quite a lot. But I think it was like the last 30 seconds or so that Mina gets the win. So it's good stuff. And then obviously, on the just one other thing from that show, I believe it was Megan Bain's
Megan Bain's debut. Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't like super tapped into the match. I was just kind of skimming through the show and stuff. I thought she looked pretty good in there. I'm not like super familiar, but she looks like really super dominant. And I think her against Tam should be really really great. Tam fighting underneath as an underdog, so I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of her. On the Sunday show, we only had 2 5-star matches. I believe we were meant to get Saya versus Natsuko Tora. Obviously now I believe that match will be forfeited. Then I don't think there's been any mention of a replacement, so I'm assuming that everything's going to be forfeited. So that's a real shame. Obviously, the report came out during the past week that she was meant to win the 5-star, according to Meltzer, which was pretty surprising. I think a lot of people were going for Utami, but she was certainly up.
Keep talking about that. I'm gonna make a tweet real quick, and then I have some thoughts on the idea that Saya was supposed to win the whole thing. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just like, I think she was probably second favorite. Certainly one of the favorites for her block. But I think a lot of people were leaning towards Utami, so it was surprising to see that report. But I think 100% she will be back next year. I fully expect her to win next year's 5-star. And I think if Utami wins this year's one, picks up that red belt, and then Saya wins next year's 5-star, I think that you've got a perfect red belt match set up right there.
So with that, with Saya, I just don't buy it. I don't buy that she was supposed to win the tournament for whatever reason. I just don't. It just doesn't seem like that was the plan. Like the story hasn't led to her specifically being the one to win. She hasn't done anything. It's not like they've heated her up going into this like they did Utami. Obviously, she was a big part of the Queen's Quest and Oedo feud, and she also was obviously in both of the Generation Battle matches. But even with that, it just didn't. I don't know. I never got the sense, and I know she was a strong contender to make the final at the very least, but I just never bought that she was a favorite to win. So I don't know. I'm interested by that report. I do know that Dave gets a lot of his Stardom stuff from like one person who's maybe likes to think he's a little bit more in tune than he actually is, but I don't know. I also don't like ragging on people when I don't have a. It's just my years and years of watching the promotion that have led me to think no, I don't really believe that's the case, and I don't really like ragging on Dave. I think it's pretty. I
think as well. When that report came out, I thought back to I believe 2021's 5-star Grand Prix, and I think going in pretty early on, Julia got injured. And I can't remember where they came from, but there were some reports that she was meant to win the 5-star, and it ended up being Shuri. And I think going in, a lot of people already thought Shuri based on the whole Utami story. It seemed like pretty, but like that was the direction they were going in anyway. So this seems like another one of those cases. I'm not. I think I'm not too sure either.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know for sure. But yep. So Mirai beat Hanan on this show. It was pretty simple. It was nothing crazy. And then what was the main event here? Oh yeah, the main event was interesting. Yeah, it was Natsupoi. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Natsupoi versus Suzu Suzuki. I like this one a lot as well. I'm not sure which one I preferred out of the two main events. I enjoyed this one a lot as well. But it was real 50-50 back and forth. Obviously, Natsupoi coming in with a win on the opener night, Suzu with a loss to Shuri. But Natsupoi keeps that momentum going. She gets another big win against Suzu. Suzu still was now 0-2. So not the best start for her. But yeah, another really great match. Just nice. A lot of really great suplexes. I think Natsupoi got one of the best German suplexes in the whole game, to be honest.
They both do.
When she does that release German suplex, one of my favorite moves. But it's another pretty solid main event from the 5-star this weekend.
So yeah, Natsupoi got the win with the arm trap German. I thought this match was good. I didn't think it was great. It was short. It was like 9 minutes in a main event spot, which was kind of interesting. You don't really expect main event matches, especially between two push wrestlers, to go that short. But that is what it was. I do think that losing 2 matches early, of course, we know how these round robin tournaments work, bodes well for Suzu making it pretty far in this tournament, especially.
I was just going to say, especially with Saya being out, I think she's now a big time favorite in that block.
Yep. So she's going to be one of the favorites in that block for sure. 0-3 start for Hanan. Could be one of those years where she goes, 0-9, 1-8, something like that, but just gets a ton of reps in the process. And we hopefully have a couple white belt matches set up too. If the story for the white belt ends up being that Mina gets her win back and then wins it after the tournament, maybe there's like a Momo defense in there or something like that, I think that ends up being fine. If that, because you don't want to squander Mirai winning the Tokyo Princess Cup, winning the Cinderella. You don't want to squander Mirai winning this.
We will get to the Tokyo Princess Cup.
Ironically, Mirai would never have won the Tokyo Princess Cup. She would have been with Suzume losing in the first round or whatever. But yeah. So I was extremely critical of Stardom's booking around this white belt and around the Cinderella early this year, and it's finally starting to coalesce into something pretty good here. And frankly, if the wrestlers are great, if Mirai's great, if Mina's great, then I have no problem with it. And so far, over the last couple months, they have been great. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because I have not been the biggest fan of either. So yeah, okay, that was our Stardom report. This upcoming weekend, the shows continue. We have day 4 on Saturday. Mirai versus Azumi. 3 really interesting matches here. Mirai versus Azumi, Maika versus Saori Ano, and Suzu versus Starlight Kid. So a nice little lineup there. I think 3 good matches there. And then on Sunday, we have Mina versus Hanan, Saori Ano versus Azumi, Shuri versus Tora. Maybe a little bit of upset alert there. And then an awesome main event, at least I think this will be the main event, Tam versus Hazuki, in a match we really haven't seen all that much, interestingly enough, but I'm stoked for that one there. So yeah, this is the, and we'll get into this in the G1, but this is the benefit of the condensed field. Just great matches on every single show.
Yeah, no filler. You should look at that lineup. That's the quality you're getting. On pretty much every show, you're going to get a lot of these big time matches.
Oh man, and then we won't be able to review this show next week, unfortunately, because it's a Tuesday show and they probably won't have it uploaded. But this lineup's great too. We got Maika versus Momo, Julia versus Mariah May, Shuri versus Natsupoi, and Mayu versus Suzu. I mean, that's a great lineup right there. So unfortunately, we won't be able to touch on it, but the results of that will have happened this time next week. Okay. I'm going to go over some super chats. In the meantime, hey, if you're watching, thank you so much for watching, by the way. If you would, give us a retweet, shout us out. We'd love to see as many people checking us out. I think people who do check us out tend to stick around, which is great, but you got to hook them in that first place. So yeah, A little shout out. We got a $1.99 super chat from Zaid Natty. Wanted to send love to DGL. Murph, you're hilarious. I'm sorry, Zaid, that Murph isn't here.
He's not even here.
Yeah, he's unfortunately, if you want to look a little peek behind the curtain, he's unfortunately been accused of multiple crimes, and he's meeting with his lawyer right now. So that's that. Although I think he'll be back for Beast of the Week. Yeah. And then the man who beat Chris Patton twice strikes back. $2 super chat. You guys' current inter-promotion dream match. This is a great one.
That is a very good one.
I would love to see Kento versus Will Ospreay. Kento Miyahara versus Will Ospreay. That might be my number one right now.
I'll go for a Joshi one to mix it up. I'm gonna go for Shuri versus Miyu Yamashita.
Oh my gosh. It'd be so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be so awesome. I'm curious. Yeah, you guys answer this in the in the chat too. I'd be curious to see what other people have to say. Okay, should we move on to a little bit of New Japan?
Let's do it.
Okay, so there were a lot of shows in the last week, and obviously we won't go in depth on every single one. I'll just sort of list some results here. Day 8 was last Wednesday at Korakuen. Notable stuff here was Ishii defeating Eddie Kingston. Tomohiro Ishii defeating Eddie Kingston. This was an incredible match. I mean, one of the best matches of the tournaments. There's a classic Ishii spot where he essentially does like a shotgun exploding headbutt. It is just awesome. This was, like I said, one of the best matches of the tournament thus far.
Yeah, just like the absolute, one of the best Ishii performances in a while. And he's always super consistent. Well, I absolutely love this match, and obviously Eddie as well. Terrific. That headbutt spot, man. That was just one of my favorite matches from the whole tournament. Maybe my match of the tournament so far.
There are multiple people saying they want to see Kento in various matches. Kento versus Naito, of course. Kento versus Okada. I mean, they're like the same age. They mean as much to their promotion. Like, there's no two wrestlers in Japan that mean as much to their promotions as these two do. I mean, that would be great. This one is fun, and I actually think they've had interactions before. I think there were Young Lions on an All Japan show, I want to say late last year, and Yuma Anzai was a part of that as well. And then, these are fun too. Mavs Fan 84 was some good ones. Nakajima versus Brock. That'd be sick. That'd be so awesome. Nakajima giving Brock like shoot kicks. That'd be crazy. And then Goldberg versus, I mean, Goldberg might literally die if this match happened, but that would be incredible too. Yeah, there's some great choices. And
I'm interested. Who would you most like to see Sheamus in there with? I know you're a huge
Sheamus. Yuji Okabayashi. He needs to come back out of retire. Yeah, that's the first name that comes to mind for Sheamus. But oh my God, Sheamus and Shingo. Could you imagine? Yeah. Bro, that'd be so awesome. Imagine if they brought we got Sheamus and McIntyre against Strong BJ or Violent Giants or something like that.
Oh my God. What have we got to do to make this happen?
I know.
I
know. I don't know if people who are fans of the show know how much of a fan I am of Sheamus. Because we don't talk WWE on the show, but Sheamus is one of my 10 favorite wrestlers ever. I love Sheamus so much, and I was such a believer in him.
I would have to agree. I love Sheamus.
I was such a believer in him for so long because he was just like a WWE guy, right, for a while, and he never had an indie run really or anything. But oh my God, he's just the fucking best. He's just so reliable. Okay, more G1 here. Also on that show, Shane Haste got the upset over Tetsuya Naito. Kind of surprising. Tamatanga beat David Finlay. Almost certainly going to be a never open weight title rematch later on. And then Jeff, in a really good main event, Jeff Cobb beat Zack Sabre Jr. This was obviously a rematch of a TV title feud they had from earlier in the year. Just really good Korakuen main event. And Sabre is as versatile as they come.
Yeah, more good stuff. I'm not sure whether I prefer this more than the previous encounters. I'll have to go back and watch, but I really enjoyed this one.
I think I did.
Yeah, they've got some real nice chemistry, these two.
I also like that they went over 15 minutes. So because they had a draw earlier in the year, and that showed that Cobb still has work to do to beat Sabre within that 15-minute time limit if he gets another shot later on down the line. On the next day, we had day 9 at Ota Ward. This was one of the more anticipated shows of the tour. Notable stuff here: Kaito versus Gabe Kidd went to a double count out. This is a great like brawl, classic story of a prick heel goading a baby face until he snaps. And this was when there's been some murmurs of this, but after this match, people were clamoring for Gabe Kidd to be Bullet Club leader, and I kind of agree with him. He's great.
Yeah, I mean, every single performance, he's been super impressive, I think. And there's one that we'll get into from a later show where he's got that IWGP title. I can see this coming, you know, at some point down the line. And yeah, it's a tough one because you know, David Finley's not been at the helm for too long, but it just feels like it feels right, and a lot of people are really behind it. So I'll be interested to see, you know, if they, you know, do anything in that direction anytime soon. But yeah, I really like this match. I think Gabe Kidd in this tournament, like I said, against the Musketeers and Kaito, I think has been really impressive. He's really showing that he's going to be a big time player as a top heel for New Japan in the coming years.
Hikuleo beat Yota Tsuji on this show. A bit of an upset here, but I thought this was Hikuleo's best match yet.
Agreed.
It's just Tsuji did some cool stuff in here. Phantasmo beat Kenta in 19 seconds. Of course, they brawled forever beforehand, and ELP bled, but he did win. Countered the GTS into a cradle. Shortest match of this G1. Sonata beat Ren Narita in the semi-main. It was pretty good, but kind of disappointing. I was kind of hoping for an upset here, and it just wasn't like a blow-away match or anything.
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't a lot of people. There was some pretty wild reactions to this match. People were like, you know, losing their head a little bit over Ren Narita, which is just like, you know, like, I think you pointed out some people don't have the best chemistry or whatever, but you know, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. And then in the main event, this was my most anticipated match of the tournament. Will Ospreay beat Kazuchika Okada. This was exactly what you'd expect. One of the handful of best matches of the tournament to this point. Not necessarily on the match of the year level of their past encounters, but still, this was the first clean win for Ospreay over Okada in his career.
Yeah, I agree. I think that these two, every time they've wrestled, the bar is like so high that like, you know, not every match is going to be at absolute top level. And when you have that time limit imposed, and even they went a little shorter than I thought they would. Even with the time limit, I think I was kind of expecting them to push, you know, really close with the story being, you know, will Ospreay have enough time to get the job done clean? But he did it. He did it earlier than I thought, and yeah, just another really great match from both these guys. Ospreay, you know, it's absolutely no surprise that he's been super consistent in this G1. Even with some of the lower end guys, he's bringing some of the best out. So when you put him against Okada, you know what you're getting.
Oh my God, Dragon Master Adam just sent me a background to use. It's like so good. Hang on, I'm gonna get this going. Okay, let's. I'm gonna keep the show going though. In the meantime, what was next here? We had day 10. Oh yeah, we don't need to spend any time on this. This show was like nothing. Like there was like nothing on this show. It was super weak for a G1 show. The notable stuff was that Shingo versus Tama Tonga went to a time limit draw. I thought this was the match of the night. It wasn't crazy or anything, but I thought it was really good. And then Tanahashi versus Goto. I mean, that's a match that 5 to 10 years ago would have main evented a G1 show and could have contended for being like a really great match. But this is just a good, solid match. Tanahashi with the win. So yeah, this was the weakest show of the tour for me, and I thought there was like practically nothing memorable about it.
Yeah, and I think what didn't help as well, the crowd were like super silent. But that's kind of like a two-way thing, right? The show wasn't super inspiring on its own, so you can't expect them to be super fired up for like nothing. But at the same time, you know, a bit more lively crowd would help some of the matches. But you know, what can you do?
Then we had just today, we had G1 Day 11 from Takamatsu. There was some interesting booking decisions on this on the show. Hikuleo beat Kaito Kiyomiya in the opener. So major, like massive upset there. I don't think really anybody thought that was going to happen. And I'm going to go over the Block A outlook and Block B outlook later on because we're already onto the block finals, if you can believe it. Later on, we had Sonata beating Gabe Kidd. Pretty good stuff here. Sonata remained undefeated. He's locked up the block victory. By the way, nobody can catch him at this point. Tonga Loa beat Will Ospreay via countout. I thought there was some good wrestling here, but obviously a weird countout finish to protect Ospreay. I guess to make the final day more interesting. I don't think there's anybody in the world who thinks that he's losing to ELP. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you do. And then Okada beat Kenta in the main event in a match that I thought was bad. I didn't like this match. It makes me sad. I give the advanced stage, the experienced wrestlers in Japan the benefit of the doubt because so many of them remain so great for so long. We'll actually get into this in the N1 side of things, but Kenta, I don't know. I feel like I only hang on because I feel like he can. Like he doesn't have to stall for 9 minutes at the beginning of every match. He can just like wrestle. I don't know. I guess because he's a heel, he wants to and play the character. But
yeah, it was particularly disappointing as well because we had a couple of days ago the Ospreay match, and I think we saw it wasn't like classic Kenta or whatever, but we saw a little glimpse of what he can still do. There were some really nice striking exchanges and stuff, and I was kind of hoping that Okada would also bring a little bit out of them, but yeah, it just wasn't. It was just like typical Kenta, what I've been used to in the past couple of years, and it's he's one of my favorites of all time. In his prime, he's like one of the most intense, innovative performers you've ever seen, and now he's just kind of like he just doesn't care, or at least he looks like it, right? So
right. Well, that was that show. So let's get into.
I think we may have skipped the match of the night on that show, the Tsuji Shota.
Oh yeah, I completely. I have a. Yeah, no, you're completely right. I've started to rely on my notes every single week that I do. I just completely forgot to write down notes for Tsuji versus Shota. Yes, this match was awesome. This match was easily the best match of the night.
Yeah, it kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, and I think it was kind of intentional. I think they want us to kind of buy into the Musketeers are all going to draw with each other, right? So as they're stalling a little bit, they're building up that time limit. But as we get to the closing stretch, it's like a proper classic, like New Japan main event vibe. Just super back and forth, hard hitting strikes. There's ones. Oh, I love.
Yo, look at that! How good does that look? Oh, let's go.
Now we're looking good.
Oh, I need to pay him. That reminds me.
But yeah, there's a real great strike exchange. At one point, I can't remember what Tsuji hit Shota with, but Shota just like screams back in Tsuji's face. So Tsuji just like headbutts him. I was like, oh,
it's just like young, excited, like alphas going at each other, right? Awesome energy, like easily the most energizing thing on the show. Yeah. This was this was great. This was great. I can't believe I must have just enjoyed it that much that I completely skipped over it in my notes. But yeah, this was a great match here.
Yeah, big shoes, big Gene Blast got the win.
Oh, you got the Gene Blast shirt on. There you go, Gene Blast. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm a Gene Blaster.
That's right. Gross. Yeah. No. All right. So now we have the outlooks for the rest of. But I'm going to start by just going over what we've got on for tomorrow for the C block and D block, the final combined show there. Notable stuff there would be Cobb versus Goto. We will have Eddie versus Tamatanga, Naito versus Sabre in the semi-main, and then Shingo versus David Finlay in the main event. So that's the big stuff on that show. I think Shingo versus Finlay should be really good. And Naito and Sabre have really great chemistry. They always have, so that should be excellent too. Yeah, doesn't this look sick? Like I love this so much. Dragon Master. Yeah, you are correct. IDEK Dragon Master Adam.
He's done a tremendous job.
I know I was like blown away. I figured we get something okay, but this is awesome. I'll throw an extra $10 in just for the fun. All right, just for the class nature of the work. So Jamie, I have to go do like some some pre-school year training stuff tomorrow, and the building that I'm going to is it's called Scouse Elementary.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so I'll be
Reach
thinking
the
of you.
states are coming. We're taking over.
That's right. Weird. Okay. Yes. So yeah, that'll be the stuff tomorrow. Still a little fuzzy because there's 2 more block matches in C block and D block, so we don't really know where it's going. Even though Shingo only has like 5 points, I still think it's going to be Shingo and Finley in coming out of C block, and I still think it's going to be Naito. And I said Cobb, and I'm gonna stick with that because Cobb did get the tiebreaker win over Saber. So that's what I'm sticking with. But we do have the plan for A block and B block. So let me go over this here, because it's A block is pretty complicated. B block's pretty simple. A block, obviously Sonata has locked it up. He's advancing. He's won the block. So here's what we have for the block finals. This is Saturday in Osaka. Sonata versus Owens. That match doesn't matter. Tsuji versus Kid. Both of them have 5 points, and they're both technically alive and can advance with a win, but it would have to be like both of the other matches would have to go to draws for that to matter, and I don't think that's going to happen. So for all intents and purposes, Tsuji and Kid are out. The other 2 matches are Kaito Kiyomiya versus Ren Narita and Shota Umino versus Hikuleo. So Hikuleo, with a win, advances. He controls his own destiny because he has the tiebreaker win over Kaito. Kaito, Shota, and Hikuleo all have 6 points. They're all tied coming into this. So Hikuleo obviously would beat Shota in points if he wins that match, and then he would have the tiebreaker over Kaito no matter what. Shota and Kaito went to a draw, so they actually don't really have a tiebreaker between each other. I don't think they'll make them have the same amount of points, though. So that will be interesting. So essentially, if they both win, they tie. And I think the booking is that they would do a tiebreaker match, but I don't think they'll do that. And then Kaito advances outright with a draw between Shota and Hikuleo. All right. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Shota and Hikuleo are going to go to a 20-minute draw, and I think Kaito is going to beat Ren Narita, and that's going to lead to Sonata and Kaito being the 2 that advance.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I saw a lot of people like kind of outraged that Kaito, he's not going to make it. Like some people thought that he was out, and I was like, "Oh, hold on, it's not over."
There's always stuff that can happen.
Yeah, I think that's what we're getting. I think I just don't see a world in which Kaito is a part of this G1 and we don't get the Okada match, right? And
there could be some way that like maybe to set up a big feud for Shota later on in the year, I don't know, Bullet Club comes out or something like that, and like essentially causes like a double DQ or a no contest or something like that that leads to, in some fashion, I feel like Shota and Hikuleo are going to each get 1 point. Kaito is going to be Ren Narita and advance. So yeah, and we actually don't have the match order even yet either. So we're in the dark on anything like that. We're just going by what we think. But I don't know, if you're going to have Kaito in your tournament, and you're going to continue that Okada stuff, you just gotta book him to advance. It'd be a major missed opportunity, in my opinion, to not do that. Okay, and then for B block, this is a lot more simple. Okada has locked up advancing. He hasn't locked up the block victory, but then it all comes down to Ospreay, essentially. So if Ospreay wins and Okada well, here are the matches, actually. Kento versus Yoshihashi, that match doesn't matter. Okada versus Tonga Loa, Taichi versus Great Okan, and Ospreay versus El Phantasmo. So if Ospreay wins and Okada loses, then Ospreay wins the block, and that changes who they face in the quarterfinals. If Ospreay wins and Okada wins, then Okada wins the block. Ospreay's number 2. If the only way that this can change is if Ospreay loses to El Phantasmo, he would advance with a win no matter what, because he holds tiebreakers over Taichi and Tonga Loa as well. So and those are the other 2 that have 6 points. So it's simply put, Okada advances, and then the other person advancing will be the winner of Ospreay versus ELP.
Yeah.
And then I actually think Osprey versus Phantasmo should be really good. They have great chemistry too. So that could be great. So I bet Osprey kicks out of the CR2 at some point. Should be a really good near fall. All right. That is our G1 Climax update. Do you want to, let's talk briefly about the shows. I was pretty excited about the lineup coming in because I'm a big fan of Eddie Kingston. Of course, I was thrilled to have Kaito in here, and I liked the organization of some of the blocks. Of course, Block A with all the young guys, and then Block C with a lot of the sort of like stereotypical never open weight like Haas wrestlers and all that, and then having Osprey and Okada in the same block too. But there's just a lot of filler on these shows. There's just a lot of filler on these shows, and I don't know if you agree with me, but to me, comparing it with the 5-star, where every show, I mean, like minimum 2/3 of the matches you're going to get on a 5-star GP show are like, that's a big time matchup right there. And for these G1 shows, it feels like a quarter of the matches are up to that standard. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think like you pointed out, when we got the block announcements, we could see the big matches that were lined up. We knew, like you said, we were going to get the Okada Osprey, and we were going to get the Musketeers in there and stuff. And largely those matches have delivered, to very next extent. But there's been some real great matches. But mixed in between there, we've had a lot of stuff that we really didn't need to sit through in a G1 typically. I think if you cut this down, as you said, like the Stardom, the 5-star, and you just do a straight, 10, the 2 blocks of 10, and you just get, typical G1 action, everyone against each other, 2 blocks. You get the absolute best of the best. And yeah, you may have had to make some tough calls here and there, but I think largely you would have, that quality would have absolutely gone up by a long, long way. And it's just, it's telling. You can see a lot of people reacting to it on the timeline, and they're not, unless you're a completionist like both of us are, they're not going to sit through every single G1 show, and some of them are skippable entirely. That show we talked about, not the most recent one, but the one before.
Yeah, the most recent C&D block show. There's like literally outside of Shingo Tama, like nothing.
Yeah, and usually that is far from the case in these G1 shows. Usually they must see pretty much for everything, but yeah, I was kind of not. I was hoping they wouldn't go down this route before we had the blocks announced, but I thought they would, and they ended up doing this four block thing. But it's not ideal. Hopefully, the knockout should be great, but it's just a shame that it couldn't have just been like all systems go from the start.
One thing that I'm remembering is they have lost a little bit of talent over the last year or so. No more Bushi, of course, no more Jay White. Those were big time anchors of the G1 for a long time, and so tonight, and then with Tanahashi finally starting to show signs of age, and Naito not bringing it every single night, and things like that. That definitely puts a damper on things. And finally, I just don't like. I like the War Dogs. I like the act, but I just don't need all the interference and bullshit. Like it just doesn't add anything to me. It just feels like a waste of time until they get to the finish for me. So I don't know. I read the entirety of Tajiri's book about pro wrestling and playing to the audience in like a day this past week, and one of the things he talked about was, you just have to make the audience care about every single thing you do. And that's the hardest part about being a wrestler, is making the audience care about every single thing you do when you're out there in the ring. And that's why I'm higher on people like Tama Tonga than I think a lot of other people are, because for whatever reason, he's able to make me and a lot of other people care about what he's doing. However, there are some, like Shane Haste, he struggles to make me care about what he's doing on a night-to-night basis between the ring, between the ropes, I should say. Evil is another example of that. Just somebody who, he's comedic now. It's not as in your face as it used to be, but I just don't care. Obviously, Chase Owens is on there. Hikuleo, I'm gonna find a little bit more compelling because at least he has the size. But there's just people in these blocks. I mean, you contrast it to people like Yoshihashi and Taichi, who are able to evoke that emotion out of people and get some interesting matches. Okan, the opposite. I don't really get much from Okan when he goes out and wrestles. And when there's multiple people like that every single night on the G1 show, it's like, yeah, I'm just not that excited about these matches. Just not that excited. So yeah, they also lost. This was a good point. They lost Aussie Open too, who would have done great in this tournament. Obviously, they pushed both Fletcher and Mark Davis really big early in the year. But if you're not going to pay them, like that's on them. That part's on them. Like I understand Jay White wanted to be, but Aussie Open could have been their stalwart tag team for a decade, and not only that, but expanded into being single stars. But if you can't put up the cash for people, they're gonna move. So
there's other talents as well that like we talked about going in that could have been in there. I think we all kind of wanted Hiromu in there, and we never got it.
Yeah, Hiromu and Desperado.
He looks big, right? I've talked about it a few times. He doesn't look like a like a junior anymore. He looks big. He's in there with like the Moxies and stuff. And
he's like bigger than Daisuke Sasaki, who he wrestled at Wrestle Peter Pan last week. So I don't know. But yeah, I really hope they take a long, hard look at what they trying to just do a lot of shows, or are they trying to put on the best G1 possible? And the latter is, and it's okay. They've always had to do, like, there were years people forget Yoshihashi went through in 2019, he didn't make the cut. Like, he didn't make the G1 cut. He would make it now because he's better and he's improved. But there are years where they miss out. There are people who miss out, and you feel like, man, it'd be really nice to have them in the tournament, but it is what it is. And that's just part of what makes it exciting.
We're seeing that with Stardom as well, right? Like we mentioned that comparison with Tekla, Koguma, people like that.
And Koguma,
who would have had great matches. But when you're cutting it down to the absolute best 20 and the people you really want to see in there, that's what you got to do.
All right, let's move on to yet another tournament. It is tournament season in Japan. We're going to talk about the Pro Wrestling Noah N1 victory with a wildly different lineup compared to last year. Round robin tournament, 8 people per block, but half the field, only a 16-person field as opposed to a 32. But here's the blocks. So block A, Jake Lee, Keno, Masakita Miya, Jack Morris, Yoshiki Inamura, Timothy Thatcher, who's a tag champ right now, Adam Brooks out of Australia, and Dragon Gate's Yuki Yoshioka rounds out that block. Then block B, we have Go Shiozaki, Katsuhiko Nakajima. Of course, Axe is recently reuniting. They will wrestle each other on the last night of the tour. Ihode Dr. Wagner Jr., the international champ, Manabu Soya, Daiki Inaba, Saxon Huxley, who's the other half of the tag champs, Lance Anoa'i of the Anoa'i family, yes, and Yuma Anzai of All Japan, who we mentioned earlier. That's the lineup. Does anything like jump out at you for this? I know you're not the biggest Noah fan, but as somebody who's maybe diving in and seeing a lot of these, this will be the first time you really sit down and watch these guys over an extended tour. What stands out to you?
I thought, well, like you mentioned, that the match that we're getting on the final day of Access, I think that's going to be a decider. I think, but both those are pretty big favourites to win this tournament, so that's always going to be very special. I'm looking forward to some of the outsider guys getting in there. I think it'll be interesting. I'm a big Yuma Anzai fan from everything I've seen of him, so I think him mixing it up with some of those guys, especially like I said, Access and stuff like that'll be interesting. Not super familiar with Lance Anoa'i, so but hey, they're producing a lot of wrestlers in that family, so I'm interested to see if they've got another star. I'm sure whether he'll make it to WWE one day and join the family, I'm not sure, but we'll see. But Yuki Yoshioka as well is another interesting pick. He's going to be in there with guys like Keno and stuff, so that'll be exciting. But should be good.
Definitely a lot of the fresh faces. What stands out to me, I loved last year's tournament. I thought it was better than the G1 last year. I don't think this year will be as good, and it is because this year's lineup has a clear focus on the young guys. All right. So get a load of this. I mean, I don't think people realize how much of a change it is year over year. Go Shiozaki, he's 41, is the oldest wrestler in this tournament. In last year's tournament, which also had 16 people in it, he was the 8th oldest wrestler. in last year's. Now he's the oldest. These are all the wrestlers who are older than him who aren't in it this year. Kazuyuki Fujita, Masakatsu Funaki, Hideki Suzuki, Masato Tanaka, Takashi Sugiura, Satoshi Kojima, and Masaki Mochizuki, none of whom are in this year's tournament. Shiozaki's the oldest. Timothy Thatcher is the only other wrestler who's over 40. He is exactly 40 in this tournament. So, and also, of course, no Kaito. Kiyomiya is a big no. He was last year's tournament winner, won the tournament, won the title eventually from Keno. Or no, he did. No, sorry, he won it from Fujita, and then Keno won it from him. Or did he? Who did? No, he lost to the Jake Lee. Yeah. That's right. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Go versus Nakajima sticks out to me. I'm really looking forward to Yoshioka. A lot of people have compared him to Yamato, but after thinking about it for a moment, he really might be, and I'm interested to see what Murph has to say about this. He might be a Mochi type where he's just insanely reliable for a really long time. Like, it doesn't feel like he's only been an active member of the roster for less than 2 years. You know what I mean? So I'm interested in that. I would love to see him consistently outside of Dragon Gate. And then, yeah, of course, they have all these freelance guys like Adam Brooks and Anoa'i and people like that are coming in as well. In terms of a victory, I think it's going to be the winner of Go versus Nakajima. I think it's going to be the winner of that axis. Whoever that'll be for the block win. Then whoever wins that one will go to the final. And then I think the winner of that match will win the tournament. I'm going to say it's Go Shiozaki. And it's only because Jake Lee he's been a heel champion, and he's been making fun of Pro Wrestling Noah, being like essentially saying it's been so easy to come in here and win the title immediately. And of course, Shiozaki's whole thing is that he is Pro Wrestling Noah from top to bottom. And I think that makes sense as him winning. I'm going to say it's him over Keno in the finals.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on Keno making the finals. I'm not too sure whether I'm with Shiozaki or Nakajima. I would probably lean more towards Shiozaki for the reason you mentioned. It feels like when he came back, he was a pretty obvious choice to eventually beat Jake Lee. But I don't know. I think setting up a Keno versus Nakajima final after the Congo split and now a full Congo dissolution, I think would be an interesting one to go with. But yeah, I would probably tend to agree on Shiozaki versus Keno for the final, and then a Shiozaki win and beating Jake Lee.
My dark horse pick here is Timothy Thatcher, who's been really well protected since joining. I think he's only been pinned like a couple times since joining the company about a year ago at this time. And he's also, of course, a tag champ. It would not shock me if it's him who ends up winning his block. Maybe setting up maybe he beats Jake Lee and gets a title match or something like that. But yeah, I feel like I feel pretty confident in Go Shiozaki winning this tournament. I'm interested to see what people watching have to say too. But yeah, that's the N1 preview. This weekend is the kickoff show. Also, it's kind of funny. The night before their opening night, they have like a press conference in like they do these press conferences in hotel like conference rooms and things like that, right? Big like event rooms. They're doing a rumble of the 16 wrestlers in the tournament in the conference room, I believe, and they're just going to do a battle royal. I think, from what I understand, that could have been lost in translation, but I hope that gets filmed because I'd be really interested to see that. One thing I wanted to mention before we move on, there on the show that had Nakajima versus Kento Miyahara at Korakuen, there was a big preview tag with all the foreigners taking on a lot of the hungry young guys who are all in the N1. And I thought Lance Anoa'i looked great. He was so energetic. He showed great athleticism. He came off like a wild man. He just brought a ton of energy to the match. So if he can keep that up, he's going to be one to watch in this tournament. Okay, this weekend we have. This is not in order except for the main event. The main event is the main event. Lance Anoa'i versus Yuma Anzai. Jack Morris versus Yoshiki Inamura. Ihode Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Daiki Inaba, Masakita Miya versus Yuki Yoshioka, Go Shiozaki versus Saxon Huxley, Keno versus Adam Brooks. That could be a fun one. Mm-hmm. Katsuhiko Nakajima versus Manabu Soya. Those are former, I believe they were tag champs together at one point. I want to say maybe not, so. But they're definitely former stablemates in Congo. And then this is the main event: Jake Lee versus Timothy Thatcher, and would not shock me to see Jake Lee take a loss on that first night to Big Timo there, picking up the win. But yeah, that's the end one. I'm looking forward to it. I much preferred last year's lineup, but I love round robin tournaments, and
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like a lot of the guys involved. There's some exciting outside names in there, so it should be a fun time.
And I mean, anytime Keno, Nakajima, or Go have a singles match, it's like a treat. So I'm really looking forward to that. The other thing I wanted to mention, you were thinking it might be Nakajima versus Keno in the finals. Recall that was the finals 2 years ago of the N1. So it'd be interesting to see them go back to that well 2 years later. All right, I'm going to move on to let's move on to a little bit of a TJPW. How about that? Let's go to Tokyo here. It's the Princess Cup. We had the quarterfinals this weekend. And, well, I'm just going to say it. The big story was that Miyu Watanabe lost. The person who I think literally everybody wanted to win the tournament lost. And it wasn't even like she lost to Yamashita or Rika Tatsumi or Shoko. She lost to Yuki Kamifuku. She lost to Kamiyu. Clean in like a kind of boring match. And that was that. She's out. What do you think about this, Jamie?
I mean, disappointed, but unfortunately not too surprised. It's just TJPW, doing what they've done for the last couple of years and squandering people with big time momentum. I tweeted about it when I saw the result. I need Miyu Watanabe to come to the big leagues. I need Roshi Ogawa to put in the call, bring her over. Look what we've done for Mirai over here. She was a lower level. Now she's the white belt champ. Look what TJPW thinks of you, man. Look, what are you prepared to do about it? Come on, come over to the big leagues. We'll get you in Cosmic Angels or Club Venus. You'll be a white belt champion within a year. Come on, but it's just what can you say, man? Unless they're doing Miyu Yamashita or Rika Tatsumi, like if that's going to be the final, and it's going to be one of them, then that'll be a more than good match to make up for it. But it's just when you have a layup like that and you don't go for it, I mean, what can you do, man?
It's almost like, and this is like something WWE would do, but it's almost like, I wonder if they knew that Miyu Watanabe was going to be extremely popular, right? But they didn't want her to win the tournament. So instead of having her go against, say, Yamashita in the finals and potentially have like people turn on Yamashita, they were just like, we'll just get her out of the way and have Yamashita versus Rika in the finals or something like that, right? Speaking of, guess who is in the quarterfinals is Yuki Arai, who's bad at wrestling.
Yeah.
I just don't get, like, again, I would not be critical of TJPW if I hadn't seen stuff that I thought was really good from the promotion. The Princess Cup last year was really good. They had, I don't know if you recall, like Suzume beat Rika Tatsumi in a great upset, and it felt like maybe that was the start of a push for her. Yuka Sakazaki had like an actual story behind her. She was presented as this killer. Remember, she had that mini controversy where she kind of no-sold for Hikari Noah in that match too. And then Yamashita and Miyu had what I think is like literally maybe the best match in promotion history. Sakazaki wins the tournament, wins the title, gets her final run. Like, that's some inspired like storytelling and good stuff. And this year it's just, okay, it's Yamashita, it's your top star. Like, I guess that makes sense. It's not the most exciting thing, but I guess it makes sense. It is Rika Tatsumi, who nobody thinks is actually going to win the tournament because she's the international princess champion. It is Yuki Arai, who again is not good at wrestling, in my opinion. And it's Yuki Kamifuku, who is also not good at wrestling and who had to beat someone who is far, far better at wrestling to and perhaps the hottest international star in the hottest star in terms of international fandom, right, or Western fandom, I should say, in the promotion. And Miyu Watanabe is just out in the quarterfinals. Like, I don't know. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get the plan. I don't get why they're so fucking afraid to push somebody outside of their top 5 or 6 that they've had for the past 5 years. But here's the difference. Yuka Sakizaki's gone, and Maki Ito has a foot and a half out the door. So if all you have left is Yamashita, who already goes like to Europe all the time and is gone doing like Eve stuff, Shoko Nakajima, who was just champion for almost a year, and Rika Tatsumi, who they pulled the trigger on once and haven't really put her to that level since. Like, what else is there for this promotion? They got Mizuki, she's the champion, but even that, like the title match she won to finally win the title was like really underwhelming. I don't know. There's just no there just doesn't seem to be a plan. And yet they debut these new wrestlers and they want to push like Wakana Uehara. I'm like, they're not gonna push Wakana. Like, no. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. Like, because obviously everyone knows I'm the big Stardom guy, but it's not a tribalistic thing. I would really like to like TJPW.
I would too.
Another big time Joshi promotion with like a big nice presentation and all these talented wrestlers. I would like to like that, but they don't push any of them. It's like, so how am I meant to get invested if
look at Mina? Look at the best match of this weekend's 5-star were 2 ex-TJPW wrestlers who put on a better match than literally maybe any match in TJPW this year. Maybe Mizuki versus Maki Ito would be better than that. But outside of that, it's like there's not much. And by the way, I mean, you had Miyu Yamashita. You had your top star beat Mizuki in the opening round, right? This was I think it was either at Shinjuku or Shinkiba or maybe even like like KFC Hall or something like that. But the crowd's like silent for it. Like, they don't care. Like, they're just like, they're too enjoy. Oh, yeah. And so Rasselhaas and my Portuguese fan both on the same level here. It's not like it's just Miyu Watanabe, right? It'd be one thing if it's like, well, you know what, maybe they don't want to push her, but at least they're pushing some other really talented young wrestlers, exciting wrestlers too. Suzume and Arisu Endo are both great. They are great. And you know what they do? They lose to inferior wrestlers who probably sell more merch or whatever. And I get that that's how wrestling works, but I don't have to be a fan of that, right? If I don't watch a movie just because a more famous actor is in it, right? I don't listen to an album because they have more high profile producers on it. I listen to it because it's good. I watch it because it's good. And it's the same with wrestling. Like, the Portuguese fan makes a great point. Suzume is still nothing. She's just someone on the roster. She's someone who could be champion. They just do nothing. Do nothing with her. So, I don't know. I want it to be good. I want TJPW to be good. I'm sure it'll be Miyu. Well, they might fucking have Yuki Arai beat Rika Tatsumi. It's Arai versus Rika, right? And Miyu versus or no? Is it? Now I can't remember. I have it open here, and I'm sure somebody in the chat will tell us. But okay, so it's Yamashita versus Yuki Arai. Like I don't know, man. What if they have a chance to do the funniest thing in world history? But I mean, like, but then if it's Rika versus Miyu, like, nobody's gonna think that Rika's gonna win that.
No.
But if it's Miyu versus, like, if it's Miyu versus Kamiyu, nobody thinks Kamiyu's gonna win that. I just don't get it. I don't get what they do. I don't know. I'm not so sure about this. I'm not so sure that she's finally hitting the X kick. It's still it's kind of iffy there. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
There is
not quite yet. One day
she'll get there. Fuck, dude.
TJPW.
I don't know. I want it to be good. I want it to be good. It's only because I'm only critical because I believe in the talent. That's it. It's nothing against some of the talent I don't believe in, but there are people on the roster who are not being utilized to what I think would be the best of their ability, and that's frustrating to me. And so that's my thought there. And it's different from someone like you could argue that Yota Tsuji, for example, hasn't been booked the best in this block of the G1, right? He only has 5 points. He's pretty much out of contention in the final night, right? After main eventing Dominion, right? But the difference is New Japan has a decade of learning the benefit of the doubt in that they're going to push great wrestlers when they need to. Like they did it with Ospreay, they did it with Shingo, they've done it with, of course, Okada. I mean, that's the biggest example, but they did it with they sorted it out with Naito eventually. All this stuff, they did it with Omega too. But yeah, I don't know. So yes, that's and that's not this weekend. It's a couple weeks from now. So we'll actually get the full preview going next week. But 2 straight nights at Korakuen. Mei Saruga is going to be on the show. That's what I know.
Yeah.
Okay. That's enough. That's enough TJPW. Let's move over to Osaka and let's talk a little bit of Dragon Gate. In 2 days. It is the King of Gate finals, the semis and the finals. So this will be at Korakuen Hall. The semi matchups are Dream Gate champion, so world champ Madoka Kikuta taking on Big Boss Shimizu. Then the other semifinal is Kota Minoura of Gold Class taking on Hyo of Z-Brats. So 4 wrestlers, 4 different stables in the final 4. I'm thinking it's Big Boss Shimizu. I think he's gonna beat Kikuta, and then I think he's gonna beat Minoura in the finals. I think that's gonna be our finals.
Yeah, I tend to agree. There's someone who's like, I'm always super tapped in, but I think when we first previewed this tournament before it got underway, I think we all kind of said Big Boss was a big favorite going in, and yeah, I'm going to stick with that. I think that match with Madoka Kikuta should be real good.
I'm really looking forward to this show. Yeah, this was it was a big deal a few years ago. I mean, they've really done well with their King of Gate winners recently. 2 years ago, it was KZ who got the Kobe World Main Event and was great in that setting. He was the right choice to win. And then last year, of course, it was Yoshioka who really couldn't have gone much better with him as the winner. So the difference is, I don't know if Big Boss is going to win that title or maintain that push if he wins it. I'm a huge Shimizu fan. I think he reminds me in a good way. He reminds me of an Ice Ribbon wrestler in that he's kind of goofy and like insanely charismatic, but also a great worker, somebody who really puts a ton of thought and care into his matches and his structure and things like that. And he's not the most athletically gifted guy, but he can effortlessly switch between like being a killer, kind of a giant within the promotion, obviously heavyset guy, but also he's like so likable, so easy to get behind too. I'm a big fan of Big Boss. I'm not going to count out Kota Minoura though, winning this tournament and then challenging for the title. Minoura still has not won that Dream Gate title, and it still feels like he's going to get there at some point. He is one of the 6 that they identified early in the year.
Yeah, I think you can set up both of those title matches with a Big Boss win over Kikuta and then a Minoru win in the final. So there's routes to get to both if you want to go down both routes.
All right. Let's talk. Let's do one final stop in Japan, and then we'll move to Mexico. How about that?
Oh yeah.
Let's finish out. There is a show this Friday at Sumo Hall at Ryogoku, and it's not a New Japan show, although they will be there the following week, I think, or maybe the Budokan. I don't remember. But no, it is GLEAT this weekend. Greto. They are doing GLEAT version Mega. There's no more numbers. It's just version Mega for GLEAT at Sumo Hall, and they have a star-studded card. Definitely feels like a super show. They've gotten all the top freelancers to come into this one, most notably Kota Ibushi, having his first match since Blood and Guts. Here's the main event. It is a 10-man elimination rules tag match. And, GLEAT has a ton of Dragon Gate in their DNA. And so I'm really looking forward to this one.
Mm-hmm.
These teams are crazy. Kota Ibushi, Shuji Ishikawa, Daisuke Sekimoto, Yumehiro Imanari, and Hagane Shino versus El Lindemann, Kaito Ishida, Takanori Ito, Soma Watanabe, and Cheick Shimatani. So it's essentially the all-star freelance lineup against what I believe what they've christened themselves is like the Gen Z generation. In
yeah. If I'm right, I think Ibushi points out that all his guys, they're all like over 40, apart from Imanari, who said he's practically 40. I think he's 37. So yeah, it's another one of those generational battles that we had one in Stardom, and now we're getting one over in GLEAT, and yeah, it's a real crazy lineup. You got Ishikawa in there and Sekimoto on Ibushi's side. I believe this is Ibushi's first match back in Japan since he went away.
It's true, yeah, since the G1 Final 2021, which is crazy.
That's wild.
Wow.
He popped up in GCW and then Blood and Guts, and now he's in GLEAT.
He is eminently his own man. But this should just be great. It's essentially everybody on Ibushi's team is DDT adjacent in some way. Like I think like Ishikawa spent a lot of his career in DDT. Of course, Imanari and Shino are both sort of half DDT at this point. Sekimoto, I believe, was KOD champion at one point. So everybody on Ibushi's team has had DDT experience. On contrary, yeah, it's all the young, exciting guys in GLEAT on the other side. Again, I think I might be younger than Cheick and Ito, but I might be older than the other three people on the team, which is a little bit concerning. But yeah, that's the main event there. Should be awesome. Like I'm super stoked for that match. But a great card overall. I mean, there's lots of exciting matches on this one. The semi-main will be for the GLEAT G-Rex Championship, their world title. It'll be T-Hawk defending against Hayato Tamura. I would love a title change here. I've been such a believer in Hayato Tamura from the beginning. I think he's just great, and I would love to see him get the title here.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with every single GLEAT show, but in the early, like the first couple of months of the promotion, I tried to watch pretty much every show I could. And Tamura was always like a big standout for me. So him possibly getting that title is very exciting.
Shima, Minoru Tanaka, and Kaz Hayashi versus Hiromu Takahashi, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Atsuki Aoyagi of All Japan, and Jun Tonsho in just an all-star junior match right there. I mean, Shima, Minoru, and Kaz are all like, mid-2000s junior legends, and they're going against the future here, and of course the now as well. So big time exciting stuff there. Hiromu's been doing stuff outside of New Japan recently, which I think has really bolstered him a little bit because he's kind of done everything there is to do in New Japan, despite being 32 or 33 or whatever. G Infinity titles, the tag titles, the Saito Bros are going to lose these titles to Bulk Orchestra, Ryuichi Kawakami, and Galeno Del Mal. Galeno Del Mal is Ihode Dr. Wagner Jr.'s younger brother. So that's interesting. Here's a crazy shoot style match. Minoru Suzuki and Shinya Aoki versus Fujita Junior Hayato and Yu Izuka. This is a fun one. I mean, that'll be hard hitting. That'll be violent. Yeah, I mean that should be nasty. Kento Miyahara's on this show. He's teaming with Shigehiro Irie, Junjie, and Jack Cartwheel against Black Generation International, Yutani, Kotaro Suzuki, Hartley Jackson, and Keiichi Sato. I mean, yeah, we've got Joshi on this show, Kyoko Inoue, Unagi Sayaka, Dash Chisako, and Yukari Hosokawa against Risa Sera, Michiko Miyagi, Janae Kai, and Aoi of JTO. Right?
Some of these lineups are wild, man.
I know, right? They're crazy. They're doing. We have, I think, Quiet Storm's either his 20th or 25th anniversary match, and he's teaming with Masakatsu Funaki of all people, and Kazuma Sakamoto taking on Yuji Hino, Issei Onitsuka, and Taka Michinoku. just cause. They've got an MMA rules match with my favorite guy in GLEAT, Tetsuya Izuchi, is doing a singles match MMA rules, and I could be wrong. This might be intended to be a shoot match, like not a worked wrestling match against Akihiro Gono, who has never had a pro wrestling match as far as I know. He's a fighter, like he's never had a pro wrestling match. So interested in that. Maya Fukuda versus Now. I have no idea who Now is, but it's a kickboxing rules match. This is Joshi. That'd be Joshi. And then I don't know why I have Issei Onitsuka listed twice, but in the opener I have Issei Onitsuka and Yusuke Kodama against Yuya Susumu and JD Lee, who is I think Singaporean. It's just like in the opener. So yeah, I just went through that whole card, but I mean, it's a crazy all-star, like very much a throwback Sumo Hall card where not everything like makes a ton of sense, right? It's not like this is the culmination of a ton of different stories, but the names are exciting, the matches are fun. And I mean, this has a chance to be like a party show, like a really just enjoyable show from start to finish. So I'm disappointed. I got to work that all day that day. I'm going to be chomping at the bit to get home. I'm really excited about this show.
Oh, it should be terrific. I mean, you just went through that line on that. It's one of the craziest shows I've seen the line for a long time. I didn't realize we were getting an MMA match on this.
Yeah,
I'm in.
I know.
I'll be buying this show right away, and looking forward to it.
So super fun show. Sumo Hall again. It's rare that a promotion that's not, New Japan runs it like 4 times a year. Noah runs it once a year, and then DDT usually runs it once a year. And outside of that, it's literally like that's it. Stardom runs it like every other year. Well, I guess now they run it every year at the end of the year-end climax. But yeah, it's rare. It's rare that we get Sumo Hall. It's such a storied venue, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, let's head down to Mexico. A brief note about Mexico before we get to what we wanted to talk about. Bandito is dissolving all ties with Big Lucha. I don't know if you knew that. What made me catch that was there's obviously a Black Generation International stable, which is Black Generation is a Big Lucha stable. And so they have their own like offshoot of that in GLEAT. But yeah, Bandito will have nothing left to do with it. It seems like he's AEW full time, which is exciting for me as a fan of Bandito, and Gravity might be as well. So yeah. Okay, before we get into CMLL, a few super chats. This was from a while ago. I'm sorry, it took me a long time to get to this, but Ricky Starks, $1.99. Jamie, love the glasses, Zaddy.
Thank you very much, Ricky Starks.
He flirted with Ibu on Twitter today. You're not slick, Ricky. We got Regal, $1.99. Dumb Guy Live, more like Cute Guys Live. Just like he does one of those. Regal. Thank you, Regal. Regal, we love you, Regal. And then Mavs Fan 84 just gave us this super chat here. $1.99. Puro related. What you guys think about Suzuki Derby? I thought it was great. I loved it. I thought it was a ton of fun. It wasn't like crazy. It was 8 minutes, right? But I've really liked Collision. It's really a good wrestling show to me. I love AEW. I still love Dynamite. It's all good to me.
Yeah, I think this past Saturday's Collision was like really, really fun. One of my favorite episodes of AEW TV, maybe all year. And yeah, just I'm always looking forward. I'm always excited to see Suzuki on American TV. That's always fun. And against Derby, that great time.
Okay, it's finally time to go to Arena Mexico. The main event of Super Viernes this past Friday was one of the best matches in Mexico all year. It's probably my number 2 after the first Volador versus Rocky Romero match, but this was Rocky Romero versus Mascara Dorada. I almost called him Panterita Del Rey. It is going to take me a while. Mascara Dorada 2.0 in the Leyenda de Plata final. And it was so great. I mean, the crowd was just awesome. Rocky in Mexico is just a match made in heaven. He's so good. He is the platonic ideal of a heel, right? He is he's heelish and he targets limbs and he's ruthless and he ever so occasionally cuts corners, but it's never so egregious that it's like, this is stupid, right? It's never so egregious that it's like, if this was a real fight, it'd be thrown out by now or something like that. And then Dorada 2.0, I mean, it's a big deal to take Mascara Dorada, who was one of CMLL's biggest stars for a long time, obviously former WWE guy, spent a long time in the States doing that, was a big international star too in New Japan, to take his namesake and to come out. And to be honest, his first couple of performances, they were kind of botchy, but he came out here in the Leandro de Plata final, and they booked him to win, and he put on an incredible babyface performance in this match, and one of the best matches in Mexico all year. Jamie, what'd you think of this one?
I loved it. Easily one of my favorite matches from just Lucha as a whole all year, and yeah, just a real star making performance for Mascara Dorada 2.0. He's still putting it. He's still putting the pieces together. He's not like the absolute finished article by any means just yet, but a real big time win in the main event here. And but Rocky Romero, he's like, you know, you touched on it, his heel work in Mexico has been like absolute top notch. Just like the way he works the crowd and stuff, and especially against a guy like Dorada, who's going to get all this stuff off and the flashy moves and stuff. He's a perfect base for it. But then when he gets more technical, he's just, everything he does is so slick and so smooth, and he's just like a real pro. And yeah, just like terrific, really great match. One of the matches that and CMLL's been getting a few more eyes on it this year. People more looking to get into it and stuff, but one of the matches has kind of broke out, and you're seeing like guys that wouldn't usually check out CMLL looking to check this one out, and I think that kind of shows you how highly regarded this match has been to everyone that's seen it so far, and definitely a must watch if you've not had the chance to do so. I'm not sure whether it's still pay-per-view only or whether it's available.
Yeah, so you can't, if you didn't buy the pay-per-view, you will not be able to watch it until if I have like 5 days from now. And you'd have to subscribe to their YouTube, which is $9 a month, where they upload Super Viernes 9 days after it airs. So that's how you watch that. Or you could just like look online and find it somewhere. But I buy Viernes most weeks, so not a problem. I love Viernes. It's my favorite weekly TV show. It's just not this. So weirdly, I think the fact that I actually watched CMLL made me like this less, because I'm more used to seeing, like, Rocky Romero has spent a ton of time, and frankly, Dorada 2.0 looked better in this match than he literally ever has in his entire career. So, and the other thing is, this wasn't like the culmination of an awesome feud or anything. They literally were the final two in the in the like 10-man match last week, or the 8-man match last week, and then they just got the match this week. But it's an important like tournament, so giving Dorada 2.0 the win here was a big deal. I did get actually a little emotional watching the match when Rocky slept on the camel clutch, because this tournament is in honor of El Santo and Hijo El Santo as well. And that was, of course, the big finish for them. Gory Guerrero innovated it, but El Santo popularized it. And so, you know, Rocky putting on just a perfect camel clutch, and in 2023 making a camel clutch look killer. I mean, that's a testament to both guys. But just great history too, and great appreciation for Lucha Libre as well. Great stuff overall. Like I said, one of the best matches in Mexico all year. 2.0 is that guy. Like it's a big risk to take that name, and he's lived up to it so far. I don't want people to think that he's like Vikingo, or that he's like 2005 Mystico or something like that, because he's not. All right, he is. Think of him a lot more similar to someone like, frankly, Mascara Dorada when he was there. Not a one-of-a-kind, like once-in-a-generation talent, but somebody who can be a top babyface for the next 15 years. That is who Mascara Dorada 2.0 is right now. Mass84 is a good question. He is not related to the OG Dorada at all. He's been bestowed that name. He's literally Panterita Del Ring Jr. His dad is Panterita Del Ring. His uncle is Luciferno, who's like one of my favorite like shitters in CMLL, who's only there because he's his like family. but he has like a cool mask and a dumb outfit that he wears. So I like Luciferno, but yeah, this was good stuff. Any other thoughts on this match or CMLL in general, Jamie?
No, not really. Just like just one of my favorite matches from the promotion this year, and just a must watch if you've not been able to catch it just yet.
The other thing about CMLL that unfortunately I just don't, until they change this, they just won't be able to gather a reliable international following is they just don't. They literally book weeks like on and off. Like they'll do a great card on one Friday and then they'll do just an okay card the next Friday, and that's literally how it's been all year. This next Friday, it's just a card of tag matches. Like Mystico's in the main event. It's just like essentially a house show where people are going to try harder than normal. And you just need more exciting matchups on a week-to-week basis if you're going to keep people invested, and if you're going to charge for weekly pay-per-views, right? It's nothing crazy. It's literally $5, but if you're going to charge for that, I mean, that's by comparison, it's more than twice as expensive per month than all of New Japan World. So that's the comparison there. If you're spending $5 every Friday on Viernes, but yeah, so yes, but definitely check out this match, everybody. All right, Jamie, it is just about that time for the thing we do every week that I stall while I find the image and then I click it. And it's the beast of the week. Yes. Gorilla with the tank top on. He's muscly, and there's a football. It's the pigskin because we like football. Yeah. It's that time, Jamie. I want to start it off. I think for me, my beast. I mean, I think the collective beast. It was our wrestler of the week for Wrestle Purists. I think it should be Rocky. I think he's the guy for our collective one. How's that sound?
Yeah, I'm in agreement there, and I think Murph would be too.
All right, go for it. Who you got?
My beast of the week. Ooh, let me think. Okay, my beast of the week is going to be from New Japan. One of my favorite matches from the G1 thus far. And to be honest, it is primarily for one spot alone. It's it's Murph, but he's not got his camera on.
I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. Bad.
He's ruined it.
All right. Well, it was nice seeing you, Murph.
Get him out of there. My beast of the week is Tomohiro Ishii, primarily for like the dive and headbutt. I was just, I was fired up. I was ripping my shirt off, standing on the table. That was some real shit right there. But I mean, yeah, he's the beast wrestler in general, and that match against Eddie Kingston. Again, if you've not been keeping up with absolutely everything from the G1. It's definitely one you have to go back and check out. And yeah, Tomohiro Ishii.
Murph, I would really like to go last this week if possible. I would like to hear who your beast of the week is. We've already got Rocky. That's our collective one, okay?
Sorry, the audio in this car is terrible right now. They're listening. Okay, my beast of the week is Twitter user Chris O'Bread for responding to Backup Hangman's relentless punk tweet with grabs balls and squeeze. So Chris O'Brien is my beast of the week.
Good. I retweeted it instantly when I saw it. It made me laugh like out loud. Grabs balls and squeeze.
So he is my beast of the week, Chris O'Brien.
That's a great choice, Murph. We appreciate it. Thank you for finding time.
Can we do our collective real quick?
Well, it's Rocky Romero. We decided on
that works. That works. See you guys.
Sound good. All right, bye, Murph. Thank you for being here. I love that kid. That's a great choice. I'm excited for him to be in the tweet.
As far as Murph's non-wrestling picks goes, that might be the best he's ever done.
That's good. So, if you don't follow the Joshi Indies, and I don't blame you if you don't, because you kind of have to be like a freak. And I've gotten better at it. I don't follow it as much as I used to. But there was a match this weekend. I believe this is Saturday. Or actually this Sunday, I think, in Gifu. And it was an Ice Ribbon match. Ice Ribbon had a little show. Longtime viewers and fans of P's content here will know that I'm a big Ice Ribbon fan. It was my old handle, Ice Ribbon Forever. Unfortunately, they've lost like literally 90% of their good roster over the last couple of years. They just had horrible attrition. And one of the people they've lost, not in a retirement sense, but in a got married and had a kid sense, is Tsukasa Fujimoto. And she returned to wrestling this past weekend for a one-off match. She teamed with Aja Kong and Kaho Matsushita versus, who was it? Gosh. Against, Hamuko Hoshi, Chihiro Hashimoto, and Ibuki Hoshi as well. So both Hoshis alongside Big Hash. So all-star lineup. And I unfortunately haven't been able to watch it, but it seems like this might end up being a retirement for her. Like she's gonna be a parent. There has been no announced return for Tsukasa Fujimoto, who I think is the best Joshi wrestler of the 21st century. I think there is genuinely nobody who has combined in-ring talent with match structure, with booking. She's obviously had a hand in, but she's been the face of Ice Ribbon for 15 years. Well, not 15 years, more like 10 years. But she's just like, we talk about people who are essential to their promotions, right? Like Kento and Okada and people like that. But I mean, genuinely, it's hard to think of a wrestler who is more essential to their promotion than Tsukasa Fujimoto. And for her to come back, to be a parent, she's really never had a major injury in her career, as far as I can tell, which is remarkable. And she's going to go be a parent. And I think that's just incredible. That makes me so happy. She was in my match of the year last year in Sakuchi Haruka's retirement match. And now she has come back for one match, and then she will move on. So not only would I like Tsukasa Fujimoto to be my Beast of the Week, if this is it for her, and I think it might end up being that way, I would like to induct Tsukasa Fujimoto into the Hall of Beasts. I think she's just great. I think she is as good as Joshi Wrestling gets. And that's saying something, because Joshi Wrestling is really, really good right now. But I'm such a big fan, and similar reasons for Yuji Okabayashi retiring on their own terms, to live their lives without major injury, not paralyzed, not with several million concussions, not with broken bones or torn ligaments or pulled muscles or anything like that, just retiring to go live your life. And she's still involved. She's still present at every show. She promotes the shows. I have no doubt she has a hand in booking, and of course she has a hand in training. She's just not an active wrestler at this point. And cherish the moments you get with the wrestlers that you really, really, you really love, because it's temporary. It's temporary out there. We saw that with Yuji Okabayashi, and we've seen it with Tsukasa Fujimoto. So this week, our third inductee, joining Kento Miyahara and Yuji Okabayashi, Tsukasa Fujimoto. We also have Tomohiro Ishii, we have Rocky Romero, and we have Twitter user, fellow wrestle purist Chris O'Bread as our Beasts of the Week. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. This time next week, we will have, I think all we'll have left for G1 is the D block finals. So we'll know definitively 3/4 of the G1 quarters, which is exciting. We've got a couple Stardom shows. We've got the kickoff of the N1. We will know the results of King of Gate, and we'll get to preview again TJPW. I think that's all the big stuff in the next couple weeks.
I'm gonna have that crazy Great show.
We'll definitely be talking about the Great show next weekend too. But yeah, is there anything else? I'm just gonna take a look. Oh yeah, there's an All Japan show with a Triple Crown match. Yuma Aoyagi defending against Suwama. Nice. That'll be
definitely. We will absolutely touch on that one next week.
Yeah. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you tuning in as always. Remember to keep promoting us, retweet our stuff, and all that type of stuff. We really appreciate all of you who do that, and everybody who tunes in and watches. So for Jamie, this is P. Stay dumb, everybody.